In this video, I wanted to see if I could beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Sacred Gold using only Fire types. Sacred Gold is an advanced difficulty ROM hack of Pokemon Heart Gold that takes the base game of Heart Gold and dials the difficulty up to 11. Luckily for me then that this ROM hack is filled with powerful Fire types, because I'm going to need every single one of them if I want any chance of beating this challenge. That's because under my hardcore Nuzlocke rules, if a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead and must be released. I can also only catch the first eligible Fire type in each area. The rest of the rules are on screen now and in the description, so with all that out the way, let's jump right in and see if my Pokemon will burn hot enough to melt this incredibly difficult challenge. So first things first, we've got to pick our starter, and it shouldn't be a surprise that we're picking the Fire starter, Cyndaquil, who I named Bonfire. Now Bonfire hasn't had any typing changes in this ROM hack, and has still got his base ability Blaze, which means he isn't exactly the most exciting start to this run. He should still be a pretty reliable Pokemon though. Now, before we can start our journey for real, we have to visit Mr. Pokemon, where we run into Cynthia, who gives us an Eevee we name Comet. Comet can't evolve into a Fire type just yet, so he'll be kept on the sidelines for the time being. After a quick catching tutorial, I'm able to start catching encounters for real, the first of which is on Route 46. Only one small problem with this first encounter though, I can either grab a Houndour here or a Numel. The problem is, whichever one I don't catch here, I'll have to wait until after my 8th gym badge to find again. I ultimately decide on Chili the Numel, who will give me a counter to any rock types I run into. My next encounter I find in Dark Cave, everyone's favourite overused joke, a Slugma I name Sauna. Often Slugmas are really underwhelming, but my Sauna has been given some buffs, so I'm hoping he'll turn into a valued member of the team. I actually only get one more encounter before our first gym battle. Inside Violet City, by answering this juggler's questions, I get given a Charmander I name Lasers. I can then evolve Bonfire into Quilava before a quick trip up Bellsprout Tower to beat up an old man for his Firestone. Only one problem with that, this old bastard is a cheater and wipes my whole team thanks to constantly confusing my Pokemon and putting them to sleep. Like, I swear Hypnosis's accuracy and confusion chance haven't been buffed. That was just some bullshit. Thankfully on attempt 2, this stupid fleshlight worshipper doesn't cheat his way to KOing most of my team, meaning I'm able to defeat him and I'm rewarded with a Firestone. A Firestone means I can evolve Comet into a fluffy Flareon. With that, it's time for our first gym battle of the run, and with only Sauna having a super effective move against Falkner's birds, this is going to be an uphill battle. After loading up my Pokemon with EVs though, there's no point wasting any more time, so let's win ourselves our first gym badge. Falkner starts with Duo, while I start with Bonfire. Thankfully Falkner's first bird isn't a problem, because 2 embers are enough for an easy KO after the Duo bird gets off a growl. Second though is Pidgeotto, who could be a massive pain if I'm unlucky. This bird is mostly annoying because of Roost, but thankfully Bonfire clearly isn't playing around, because after getting off a weak Ember and taking a hard Aerial Ace, a second Ember crits, bringing down Falkner's second bird. Third for Falkner is Farfetch'd, who again gets off an Aerial Ace before going down to 2 embers. Next is Swablu, who I get incredibly lucky against, because after Bonfire gets off an Ember, she gets crit herself, which is actually a good thing because it puts his health into Blaze range, which means one more Ember can take down the Cloud Bird. Fifth for Falkner is Chatot, and I'm slightly worried because Uproar could do a huge amount of damage here. I decide to take a risk though and stay in with Bonfire, who lands a massive Blaze boosted Ember before taking an Uproar that leaves my starter on 1 HP. Okay, that was a little bit too close to comfort, but Bonfire survives and is able to get off another Ember for the KO. That just leaves Falkner's last bird, his Murkrow. Obviously I can't keep Bonfire in anymore, so I switch into Sauna, who takes a lot from a feint attack. I'm pretty sure Sauna still survives another attack here though, so I decide to leave Sauna in and take an Aerial Ace, and somehow for the second time this battle, another one of my Pokemon survives on 1 HP. Jesus Christ. If this fight is this close, I don't want to even think about the rest of this run. Sauna somehow has tanked the hit and is able to land a Rock Throw that that does good damage. With Murkrow weakened, I can now switch into Comet, who still has to take some nasty hits, before finishing off the bird with an Ember. With that, we've won our first gym badge. Somehow got through that on our first try. Honestly was expecting that to take a couple of attempts, but our luck really pulled us through. Before we carry on then, remember to leave a like on the video if you enjoy and subscribe for more in the future. It really helps me out and lets me know you guys are enjoying. Oh, and I've also got channel memberships available if you really want to go out of your way to support me in the channel. It's all really appreciated. Anyway, it's time to head towards our next gym fight in Azalea Town, and I actually only get one more encounter before our next gym. Luckily, despite only getting one more encounter, this one encounter is really strong, a Torchic I named Grill. Torchic is already really useful because it will eventually evolve to lose its weakness to rock types, but Grill also has his hidden ability Speed Boost, which is really broken. Once Grill evolves into Combustion and I have my first Team Rocket encounter, it's already time for our second gym fight of the run. Of course, this is one of the few times I have a type advantage against a gym leader during this game, so I'm hoping Bugsy won't prove to be too much of an issue. So let's jump right in. Bugsy starts with Butterfree and I start with Lasers. Butterfree could be annoying here because it has Rain Dance, but thankfully after Lasers gets off good damage with an Ember, the Butterfly just goes for an Air Cutter. This lets Lasers get off another Ember for the KO, meaning I won't have to worry about Rain Dance. Honestly, Rain Dance wouldn't have been a huge issue there because Lasers has Dragon Rage anyway, but I'm not going to complain about not having to deal with it. Second is Yanma, who does take a bit of work to KO because the Dragonfly keeps spamming Detect and is healed by a Moo Milk, but eventually the bug goes down after getting off an Ancient Power. Third is Heracross, who I do have to risk a crit against, but luckily Lasers survives an Aerial Ace and then KOs with 2 Embers. Fourth is Pinsir, so I switch into Bonfire. Bonfire does have to take some hard vital throws, but my starter is able to KO the Pinsir with little issues. Next, the Bugsy is Scyther, and this is the scary one. If Scyther gets off a couple of Swords Dances, this bug has the potential to sweep my entire team. Because of how much of the threat this Scyther is, I decide my best bet is trying to put it to sleep. So I switch into Sauna on a quick attack and then take a very nasty wing attack that leaves my Slug on 3 HP, but Sauna survives and is able to land a Yawn. I'm now in a much better spot and I can switch into Chili, who takes a quick attack as the Scyther falls asleep. A combination of Rock Tombs and Embers then takes down Bugsy's most threatening Pokemon. All that leaves the Bugsy is his Beedrill, which hits hard with a cut before going down to Rock Tombs. We've done it, we've taken down our second gym leader with no deaths. The most scary part of that fight was definitely Scyther, but we were able to handle it pretty well, so that was a fairly straightforward fight. With Bugsy defeated, it's time to head towards Goldenrod City, and if you guessed we were getting another starter, you'd be correct. This time I'm getting another firefighting starter, Cole the Chimchar. Cole serves the same purpose as Grill, but this doesn't take away from the fact that Cole should be super useful. Once Cole has evolved into Monferno, I'm able to head onto Route 36 for another encounter. Here I can find a Growlithe or a Vulpix, both of whom are really useful. Luckily, whichever one I don't catch here, I can grab after my next gym battle, so I'm happy to welcome Summer, the Growlithe, to my team. I'm then able to head back to Goldenrod to buy a Firestone to evolve Summer, and grab a couple of TMs for Flamethrower to give my team a bit of a boost in power. Really going to need that power boost because now it's time for our next gym fight against Whitney, and Whitney's team is pretty stacked. My team is starting to really come together though, so let's hope this goes well. Whitney starts with Lickitung and I start with Summer. Summer starts the fight with a really strong Flamethrower that does a huge amount into the pink sex offender. Summer does get hit by an Attract though, and I'd really rather not deal with that, so I switch into Bonfire as Whitney heals with a potion. Bonfire then has to take a Body Slam before KOing with Flamethrowers. Next is Clefable, who threatens with Water Pulses. I'm pretty sure Bonfire can take even a crit here though, so I go through a Flamethrower, and luckily Clefable just sets up a Reflect. Annoyingly, Bonfire then misses the KO with another Flamethrower, but he tanks a Water Pulse really well, and then is able to KO the Clefable with one last Flamethrower. Then Whitney's ace comes out, Miltank. Attract, Rollout, and Milk Drink mean this stupid cow could be a real pain, so I switch into Summer, throw an Intimidate. Summer is then able to land a powerful flamethrower before being hit by an Attract. I decide it's worth just trying to outright KO the cow with another flamethrower, but unfortunately Summer is clearly distracted by those yummy teats and gets immobilized by Love. This lets the milk tank get off a milk drink and almost heal itself back to full. I really don't want to play around with the Attract anymore, so I switch into Grill on another body slam. I then try to get off a cheeky swords dance because it would put me in a really good position, but of course Grill gets paralyzed by another body slam, quickly ending that idea. I can at least switch back into Summer on another body slam, and this time after getting off a flamethrower and being hit by an Attract, Summer breaks through his leather teats and KOs the fat cow with a second flamethrower. Speaking of teats, third for Whitney is everybody's favourite furry, Lopunny, who lands a stupidly strong dizzy punch before going down to 2 more flamethrowers. Next is Stantler, and Summer has taken a real beating at this point, so I switch into Comet on a stomp. My Flareon does then have to take 2 more stomps that leave her in the red, but she takes the hits before KOing with a couple of flame wheels. All that leaves for Whitney is Wigglytuff, who is a real pain thanks to Wish. Eventually Lasers is able to take down the pink fluff ball with flamethrowers, but it does take an unreasonable amount of time. Having access to flamethrower really helped a lot during that fight. Here's hoping our deathless streak continues. Moving past the crybaby Whitney, we can go catch a Vulpix, who we missed out on earlier. Once Torch has evolved into Ninetales, he actually becomes one of the most important Pokemon I can get during this run. This is because Torch has been given the ability Drought. Drought causes sunny weather whenever Torch is sent out in battle, which not only deals with my water Pokemon weakness, but also massively increases my fire attack. Torch isn't the only super strong Pokemon I get in this leg of my journey though, because I can also return home through another encounter. And yes, I know you could argue I've already gotten an encounter in New Bark Town because of Bonfire, but for this run I'm just gonna say my starter doesn't count as an encounter. This means I can go give my TV a good kick, which eventually causes a Rotom to fall out. Obviously Plasma isn't a fire type just yet, but by running all the way back to Goldenrod and talking to this random thief in the department store basement, I can change Rotom into his heat form. Honestly, Plasma is such a good Pokemon for this run, as they have the ability Levitate, which makes them immune to ground type attacks. On top of this, Plasma is a great counter to a lot of scary water types because of his strong electric type attacks. All in all then, both Torch and Plasma are vital going forward, and I'm excited to see what they can do. I do get one last encounter in the Burn Tower, a Magpie I name Ash. Ash isn't super amazing, but he does get some decent coverage, so I'm sure she'll be useful at some point. With those important encounters out the way, I can now challenge Morty to our 4th gym battle. Morty's Pokemon all tend to be pretty frail, so I'm hoping to KO them quickly with flamethrowers. So Morty starts with Duskull while I start with Torch, who immediately sets up the sun, giving all of my fire moves a massive boost in power. Despite this massive boost in power, a flamethrower still fails to KO the Duskull, meaning Torch is confused by a Confuse Ray. Torch is a bit of a mad lad though, because he's able to break through the confusion twice and KO the spooky ghost with 2 more flamethrowers. Next is Mischievous, and Torch is able to pick up another easy KO with 2 more flamethrowers after breaking out of confusion. I already love my Firefox. Third is Shuppet, who is just straight up one-shot by another fire attack. Fourth is Sableye, who actually does cause me a slight issue by landing a Torment after taking a strong flamethrower. This doesn't prove to be a massive issue though, because after stalling through a turn with Hypnosis, another flamethrower takes down the Sableye. Second to last then is Haunter, and thanks to Torment I can't actually attack this stupid ghost on this turn. I decide to stall again with Hypnosis, but Torch is actually outsped and put to sleep herself. I don't want to take a Dream Eater here, so I'm forced to switch into Lasers. Lasers is able to come in on a useless Dream Eater and then KO with a critical hit flamethrower. Don't think I needed the crit there because of solar power, but not gonna complain. Last then for Morty is Gengar, who is immediately outsped and one-shot by a solar powered boosted flamethrower. Honestly, that was by far the easiest gym fight we've had so far, and with that we've won our 4th gym badge. I actually don't have a lot to do before our next gym fight other than evolve Chili thanks to our new level cap of 35 and catch a Ponyta on Route 39 I named Coffee. Coffee doesn't really have anything special going for her, but I can't really go wrong with another fast fire type. It's then a quick hop across the ocean before we arrive at Chuck and his fighting types. My team is pretty strong at this point, but Chuck's team will hit really hard if I let it, so here's hoping we can get through this. Chuck starts with Primeape and I start with Torch. I am slightly worried about Rock Slide here, but Primeape is determined to get off a Focus Punch after setting up a sub. Because I keep spamming flamethrowers, Chuck's only able to get off one really strong Focus Punch before going down. Next is Poliwrath, who is less threatening than he should be thanks to the Sun. Sun means I'm pretty safe to send in Plasma, who avoids a Hypnosis on the switch. I had given a Plasma a Chesto Berry, but I'm not going to complain about that dodge. 2 Thunderbolts are then enough for another easy KO as Poliwrath just tries to get off a Focus Punch. Focus Punch is a move that should be scary, but instead it makes it fairly easy to pick up KOs without even taking a single hit. Third for Chuck is Hitmonlee, so I switch into Summer on a Fake Out. A Sun boosted Flamethrower then annoyingly misses the KO, which means Summer has to take a stupidly hard high jump kick that I think would have KO'd if not for Intimidate. Summer lives to fight another day though, so another Flamethrower takes down Bruce Lee. Next the Chuck is Hariyama, so I switch into Plasma on an Earthquake, which he's immune to. I then go through an Overheat expecting an easy KO, but I completely forgot about Thick Fat. That means Plasma has to take a nasty cross chop in the retaliation, but at least it doesn't KO one of my best Pokemon. Thank God she lived that. I then decide to switch into Summer through an Intimidate, and even after an Intimidate, cross chop still hurts a lot. Okay, damage on my team is starting to stack up, and my remaining undamaged Pokemon can't take Earthquakes very well. I have to hope that Comet is tanky enough to take a couple of hits here, so I switch her in on an Earthquake that still does a lot. Comet then lands a Flame Wheel that thanks to Thick Fat fails to KO, and then Comet has to take an Earthquake that thankfully doesn't crit. Thank God my Fluff Ball survived, because now one last Flame Wheel is able to bring down the Sumo. That just leaves Breloom for Chuck. Breloom is able to get off a scary Mach Punch before being brought down by a Flame Wheel. And with that, we've defeated Chuck. That fight did give me some issues because I completely overlooked Thick Fat. Really shows that I can't get complacent in these difficult ROM hacks. A bit of bad luck and that could have gotten bad fast, but we still made it through and won our 5th gym badge of the run. Thanks to our new level cap of 40, I'm able to evolve all 3 of my starters into their powerful final forms. This gives me access to some really strong Pokemon. Unfortunately though, once I deliver medicine to Jasmine, instead of being able to battle her immediately like in the base game, I first have to go rescue the Safari Zone from Team Rocket. This isn't too difficult in itself, but unfortunately my luck finally runs out because as I'm battling my way through Team Rocket, Chili gets crit and poisoned in the same turn, meaning he goes down to a Weezing. Rest in peace Chili, you didn't come up a lot during this video, but you really put in some work against a lot of random rock types I had to fight during this run. At the very least, I don't have any more issues defeating Team Rocket, meaning we can challenge Jasmine to our 6th gym battle. Thankfully, now that Lasers is fully evolved, this fight is really straightforward. Jasmine starts with Matang while I start with Lasers. I'm immediately able to maximize my attack with Belly Drum, and from there it's pretty much over. I'm able to one-shot all of Jasmine's Pokemon, apart from Bronzong and Skarmory, both of whom are easily dispatched by either an extra attack from Lasers or Plasma's electric attacks. Nice easy win, 6th gym badge acquired. Next we're able to head over to Mahogany Town, and after beating up Team Rocket again, we're ready for our next gym fight, this time against the Ice-type leader, Pryce. Shockingly, I'm not expecting much trouble from an Ice-type gym leader in a Fire-only run, so let's see how this goes. Pryce starts with Abomasnow, and I start with Summer. Abomasnow has Snow Warning, setting up the Hail, meaning I had to send out Summer first if I wanted to get rid of this weather. With Hail now set up, I can switch into Torch on a Focus Blast that misses. A single Flamethrower is then enough to KO the Christmas tree. Second is Dugong, and I could easily KO this Fat Seal with Plasma, but instead I decide to start setting up with Nasty Plots. This is honestly pretty safe to do because Dugong can only hurt Torch with weak Surfs, and I'm able to keep Torch healthy with Morning Suns. Eventually I'm able to get Torch torch set up to +6, and then finally KO the Dugong, which takes longer than I'm expecting because once again I have to deal with thick fat. Eventually the Dugong thaws though, and now I can start sweeping. I'm able to KO the rest of Pryce's Pokemon with the exception of Throstlass, who I'm worried about being outsped by. Because of this I switch into Plasma, who KOs with an Overheat. Pretty straightforward gym fight, but if you expected the Ice type gym leader to be difficult in a fire only run, I have questions. Now I've been making pretty fast progress through this game so far, but unfortunately that's all about to come to a halt because I've reached the point in my journey where I have to deal with Team Rocket once and for all. This involves 400 admin fights and a rival battle, all of which are fairly easy. The real challenge comes with the final battle against Archer and Giovanni, who you have to battle back to back. This is one of the harder fights in this game, so let's hope my fire types can push through. I start with Grill and Archer starts with Zangoose. I've given Grill a wide lens to boost his accuracy, meaning I'm pretty safe to easily KO the Zangoose with a single high jump kick. Second is Gyarados, and even after an Intimidate I'm expecting a single Thunder Punch to KO here. Oh shit, somehow Grill just got stupidly lucky because Gyarados just goes through a bounce instead of going through a devastating waterfall. Because this takes a turn to land, I can switch into Torch to take the attack and set up the Sun. I can then safely switch into Plasma as Gyarados is healed by a Hyper Potion and then KO with a Thunderbolt. Next is Drapion, so I decide to stay in and get off an Overheat, and of course I miss. Well, at least Crunch wasn't doing too much. Okay, well that was just rude. At least a second Overheat lands and one-shots the Scorpion. Archer then sends out his Machamp, and this muscly monster is threatening thanks to Stone Edge and Earthquake. Thankfully with Plasma out, I can pretty much guarantee a Stone Edge on the switch here, so I send in Grill, who isn't weak to rock. On the switch, Grill tanks the hit really well. A sun-boosted Blaze Kick is then enough for the KO. Next is Scizor, who goes down to a single Blaze Kick. All that leaves the Archer is Houndoom, who is holding a Focus Sash, meaning I can't one-shot. No problem though, because Grill can easily take a hit after getting the pup down to 1 HP. Well, shit. Okay, I'll be honest, kind of forgot that the sun was up. Rest in peace, Grill. That one, I'll admit, was kind of on me. At least I can now send Cole in, who can finish off the Hellhound with a close combat. Right, slightly messy misplay there that cost me Grill, but now we're on to the second half of this fight with a Pokemon down. Can't start fucking things up at this point. So now I've got to beat Giovanni, who starts with a Persian, while I start with... oh, that's awkward. So I kind of have to let Grill die twice here, but afterwards I do just send out the next Pokemon in my party, so it's not a huge problem. Luckily that next Pokemon was Cole, so I can one-shot the cat with a close combat. Second for Giovanni is Nidoking, so I switch into Plasma on an Earthquake. Then I just missed the KO with an Overheat before being hit by a Thunderbolt. Not sure why the AI didn't go for Superpower there, but sure, not gonna complain. I now know Giovanni will heal on the following turn, so I switch into Torch to set up the Sun. I can then switch back into Plasma, and this time, with the Sun up, an Overheat actually KOs the Nidoking. Next to the Rocket boss is Rhyperior, and this thing is super scary for my team, but luckily I've got Cole, who is the perfect counter here. Cole can come in on a Stone Edge. Okay, I'll admit that was a little bit too close to comfort. Cole lived though, that's what matters, so a single Grass Knot takes down the Rhyperior. Fourth is Nidoqueen, who goes down the exact same way as Nidoking. I switch into Plasma and then KO with an Overheat. Fifth is Tauros, another Pokemon with bloody Stone Edge. I can't let Cole take another strong attack, so this time the play is to switch into Summer through an Intimidate. Summer then one-shots with a sun-boosted Flamethrower, or not. Well, at least Summer survives and then can KO with a Flamethrower. I'll be honest, I'm getting really sick of every enemy Pokemon landing Stone Edges all the bloody time, but at least I don't have to worry about that with Giovanni's last Pokemon, Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan tries to land an Earthquake, but I can just send in Plasma one last time, and then KO with one last Overheat. Okay, we've done it, cost us Grill, but Team Rocket is down and out. We're now getting close to the end of this journey, so just got a couple of things to do before our final gym fight. Firstly, we're able to evolve someone we haven't seen since the start start of our journey, Sauna the Magcargo, I really need a counter for Clair's Pokemon, so Sauna's rock typing is now kind of important. I'm then able to find one last encounter, a Torkoal I find on Route 45. Desert is one tanky boy, so I'm happy to add him to my roster. With that, it's time for Clair and her dragon types. This gym leader looks super scary for my team on paper, but I do have a plan that might make this fight super easy. So let's go see if that plan works. Clair starts with Dragonair, and I start with Lasers. I immediately start the fight with a Belly Drum, which maxes out Lasers' attack. Lasers then gets hit by a Thunder Wave, but that's completely fine because I gave her a Lumberry. Lasers then sweeps Clair's entire team. Gotta love setup. It's very satisfying to sweep what should be one of the hardest fights in the game with no difficulty whatsoever. With all 8 gym badges acquired, I can now make my way into Kanto and True Victory Road. Before we can make it to the Elite Four though, I am challenged one final time by my rival. I've skipped over all of these fights so far in this video because they're fairly straightforward battles, but this one is slightly more tricky. H2O starts with Haunchcrow while I start with Plasma. Plasma is such a beast that he's able to take down the first 3 of my rival's Pokemon with no problems whatsoever. Fourth is Magmortar, and this monster is not going to go down as easy. I decide to switch into Torch and of course immediately get hit by a Swagger. I don't really want to have to play around Confusion, so I switch into Sauna, who I'm hoping can take a couple of Focus Blasts here thanks to his ability Solid Rock. On the switch, Sauna takes a Fire Blast like it's nothing. Of course then Sauna gets confused by a Swagger and hurts himself in Confusion. Well, right, this is getting annoying. I feel like Magmortar is just going to constantly confuse my Pokemon, so I might as well stay in and stop trying to play around Confusion and go through an attack. Thanks to Solid Rock, Sauna tanks a nasty Focus Blast and then lands an Ancient Power that unfortunately doesn't do as much as I was hoping. Thankfully Lasers should now be able to come in and finish off Magmortar, and of course on the switch Lasers gets crit and her special defense is lowered. I hate this stupid thing. At least Lasers is finally able to bring it down with a Fly. Fifth of my rival is Electivire, who goes down to a solar powered flamethrower crit. Didn't need the crit there, but not going to complain. That just leaves Gengar, who Torch is able to take down after taking a couple of nasty Shadow Balls. Well, that was an annoying fight, but with my rival down, it's time for the final challenge of this run, the Elite Four and Champion. I do decide to catch one more Pokemon before facing my final challenge though, a Houndour I named Venus, who is immediately able to evolve into Houndoom. So with my final encounter of the run collected, it's time to end this run. With my team of very strong fire types, I'm confident we should be able to push through this. Remember to leave a like if you enjoyed and to wish me luck. Let's go end this. So first up for this Elite Four is Will, the Psychic type trainer, who starts with Jinx while I start with the newest member of the team, Venus. Venus is able to prove his worth right off the bat by one-shotting every single one of Will's Pokemon with a Dark Pulse. Nice easy start, only going to get more difficult from here though. So second for this Elite Four is Koga, who specializes in poison types. Koga starts with a Venomoth while I start with Torch. Torch is able to start the fight with an easy one-shot. Second is Tentacruel, who is scary because it has Sword Stance. I decide I don't want this squid setting up, so I go through a Will-O-Wisp to lower the squid's attack as the Tentacruel starts setting up. I then go through a Solar Beam that actually does less than I'm expecting before Torch takes a weak Waterfall. Will-O-Wisp and the Sun clearly doing their jobs. Seeing how little Waterfall is doing, I can stay in and continue to spam Solar Beams. Thanks to a full restore, it does take a while, but I can keep Torch healthy with Morning Suns, meaning eventually Tentacruel falls. Third for Koga is Muck, and I'm expecting a substitute here, so I stay in and heal to full with the Moonlight. Instead of setting up a sub though, Muck goes for a stupidly hard Gunk Shot. Okay, gonna need a new plan, so I switch into Sauna on a Rock Slide. Sauna is perfect here because I'm now baiting Focus Punch, meaning the AI will continuously go for substitutes, allowing me to spam flamethrowers till the Muck falls. Fourth is Toxicroak, so I switch into Lasers on an Earthquake and then KO with an Air Slash. Next is Weezing, who goes down to a single critical hit flamethrower. All that leaves is Crobat, so I switch into Plasma and then KO with a single Thunderbolt. That was more difficult than Will, but still not really a problem. 2 down, 2 to go. So up next is Bruno, and I won't sugarcoat it, this fight is stupidly easy. With Choice Specs, Lasers can one-shot every single one of Bruno's Pokemon. This does have some risk because Air Slash could miss, but luckily it only misses against Hitmonchan, who doesn't have a rock move, meaning this fight is completely free. All that leaves to this Elite Four then is Karen, who starts with Mightyena, while I start with Torch. Torch does have to take a Super Fang, but 3 flamethrowers are enough to KO the pup. Second is Haunchcrow, so I switch into Plasma on a Brave Bird, and then one shot with a Thunderbolt. Third is Absol, who has some decent coverage and fairly high attack. Because of this, I go through a Thunder Wave to cripple the disaster Pokemon, and then immediately get hit right back with a Thunder Wave myself. Clearly playing Pokemon Snap. Not a problem though, because with Absol crippled, I can switch into Cole on a Sucker Punch. Okay, that was scary. Expected Absol to go through a Sucker Punch there, but I assume it didn't because priority moves are slightly weird with the AI sometimes. Not a problem though, because Cole didn't get crit, meaning I can then outspeed and KO with a close combat. Fourth for Karen is Houndoom, and even after an Intimidate, a single close combat from Cole easily takes down the pup. Next is Spiritomb, who like Tentacruel is scary because it can set up with Nasty Plot. I'd rather not deal with any setup, so I switch into Sauna and put the ghost to sleep. 2 flamethrowers then pick up another KO. All that leaves is Umbreon, who is actually pretty annoying because it starts setting up double teams. Eventually though, thanks to some teamwork, Venus is able to take down the double team spamming little shit with one last flamethrower. That's it, we've taken down the Elite Four. Honestly, that wasn't super difficult, but we're not done just yet, because Lance is not going to go down easy. Thankfully, Lance starts with Gyarados, and I start with Plasma, who can immediately one-shot with the Thunderbolt. Second is Aerodactyl, who goes down to another Thunderbolt. Good start. Third is Dragonite, who is a bit more of the problem. I'm expecting a Surf here, so I switch into Torch to set up the Sun. To my surprise though, Dragonite just goes through a Draco Meteor. That's actually perfect, because every time the Dragonite goes through a Draco Meteor, the move gets weaker, and I can keep healing Torch with Morning Sun until the Dragonite is at -6 special attack. I then send in Cole, who lands 2 Stone Edges through an easy KO. Then Lance sends out his ever scary Garchomp, so I switch into Lasers on an Earthquake. I then go through a super effective Dragon Claw, which I'm hoping will do decent damage. Well, okay then, rest in peace Lasers. I suppose that was karma for all the crits you've gotten throughout this run. I'm now in a pretty bad position, so I send in Venus, who is able to do good damage with a Dark Pulse before also falling to Lance's Garchomp. Rest in peace Venus, you weren't with us for long, but you held your own. Thankfully Venus did enough to where Cole can come in and finish off the Garchomp with a close combat. Then Lance's second Dragonite comes out, so I switch into Torch. It sucks the Torch to have to make the ultimate sacrifice here, but I really don't want to lose anyone else, so I stay in and land a Will-O-Wisp before being taken down by an Outrage. Rest in peace Torch, you really made this doable and you won't be forgotten. I'm then able to send out Plasma, who's able to survive long enough thanks to the Will-O-Wisp to KO the Dragonite with Thunderbolts. All that leaves to Lance's Charizard, so I switch into Sauna. Sauna is hit hard by a Focus Blast, but then takes down Lance's last Pokemon with a single Ancient Power. With that, we've beaten the Elite Four and Champion, but this run isn't over quite yet. Of course, I couldn't just leave things there, so after a victory lap through Kanto, we reach our final 2 challenges. First is the last gym leader we have to face, Blue. Blue's team is really stacked, and what's worst, the majority of his Pokemon have Stone Edge and Earthquake. This is not going to be easy then, but I'm confident my Pokemon can push us through this difficult fight. So Blue starts with Nidoqueen and I start with Plasma. A single choice boosted Overheat is enough for a one-shot. Second is Rhyperior, who is obviously a huge threat to my team. Thankfully, it's safe for me to switch straight into Cole, who is holding a Focus Sash. My monkey takes the hit and doesn't even use the sash though, and is able to hit back with a Grass Knot that cleanly one-shots. Third is Gyarados, who would also be a problem, but even after an Intimidate, a 4 times effective Thunder Punch should just one-shot the stupid Sea Serpent. Holy shit, I just got very lucky. The only reason Cole lived there is because the Gyarados went through a bounce. Because the Gyarados didn't go through a Water attack, I can safely switch into Plasma, who takes the bounce. A Thunderbolt after Blue heals is then enough to take down the Gyarados. Fourth is Tyranitar, another massive threat. Now, if I can get Cole in for 3, I can take this monster down, but unfortunately, that is going to require a sacrifice. There's no other way to do this, so I send in Summer on a Stone Edge and then watch as my loyal pup goes down. Rest in peace, Summer, we'll win this for you. With Summer down, a single close combat takes down Tyranitar. Next is Executor, and annoyingly, I don't have a fire move on Cole. That's not a problem though, because I can switch into Ash and then KO with a Flamethrower. All that leaves to blue is Machamp, and I'm in a bad spot here because my team is really beaten up and this Thor-armed monster threatens with earthquakes and stone edges. I still do have Desert on full HP though, who thanks to a berry that reduces the super affected damage, can come in on a stone edge. Desert then has to take another much stronger stone edge before getting off a yawn. I don't really want to risk Desert taking another strong hit, so I switch into Sauna as the Machamp falls asleep. I'd love to say I was then able to simply KO the Machamp before it woke up, but unfortunately, Sandstorm Chip puts Blue's Pokemon into range where he heals with a full restore. Sauna is able to bring the Machamp back down to half, but before he can get off another attack for the KO, he's confused by a dynamic punch and then hurts himself in confusion twice. This leaves my Snail really low and puts me in a difficult position. If I can get Cole back in again, I will win this fight, but unfortunately, that means I'm going to have to make another sacrifice, so with a heavy heart, I send in Ash, and then watch as Dynamic Punch takes down my Magmortar. Cole is then able to come in and finish off the Machamp with a close combat. Right, that fight hurt a lot, but we've made it through the 18 gyms of Johto and Kanto, and the Elite Four and Champion, and that means there's one final challenge left for us on this journey. Awaiting us atop Mount Silver, we can challenge Red to our final battle. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Let's go end this. Red starts with Pikachu, and I start with Cole. Cole is able to start the fight by KOing the Zappy Rat with an Earthquake. Second is Blastoise, so I switch into Plasma. Plasma is holding a berry to make sure a Hydro Pump doesn't KO on the switch, but it's clearly not needed because Blastoise just misses. I then get off a Thunderbolt that annoyingly just misses the KO, but because Plasma is a complete beast, he dodges a second Hydro Pump. I love my Microwave. 2 more Thunderbolts are then enough to take down the Water Starter after Red heals with a full restore. Next is Charizard, who can't threaten Plasma much, so I stay in, deciding to take whatever Charizard throws at me, and Plasma avoids another attack. Okay, Plasma might just be cheating at this point, especially because a single Thunderbolt then takes down the Fire Dragon. Fourth is Espeon, who again isn't super threatening. Plasma does finally stop dodging attacks though, and is hit hard by a Psychic before missing the KO with an Overheat. Honestly, I should probably now let Plasma go down, but he's been such an MVP this fight, I kind of want to let him live, so I switch into Bonfire as Espeon is healed to full. A single Eruption is then enough to take down the cat. Fifth is Venusaur, and thanks to a berry, this grass monster survives a Choice Specs boosted Eruption. Embarrassingly for Red though, that just means his Pokemon survives long enough through a hail to take down the grass starter. All that leaves for Red is his tanky Snorlax. I'm not expecting an Eruption to KO here because of Snorlax's massive bulk, but it still should do a lot of damage. Or we end this run with a crit, as Cole is able to cleanly one-shot the Snorlax. Cole bringing this run full circle at the end, as he was the first Pokemon I used and the last. With that, we've beaten a Fire-type only run of Sacred Gold. This was a really fun run to play, working out all the little tricks to get around my numerous weaknesses. If you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to become a member if you really want to go out of your way to support me in the channel. It's really appreciated. With that, it's time to end. I'll see you all next time.